I think this one waited long enough, considering it had to take an extra day. Once again, apologies about that, folks. I came down quite ill. I'm still feeling a little bit rough, but I owe this to you. I said I was going to cover it, so let's get underway with it. Back to the 3v3 show match between top 50 ELO players. Here we go. We're going to be opening up this second game on Boulder Bay. Now, remember, folks, Team 1 took game 1. That's Hera, MarineLorD, and Capoch, who are in the north in this one. So they are currently 1-up. In fact, I think I even prepped a special casting window for this. Yes, we can see the Age of Empires 2, featuring also MarineLorD. I know it's a bit confused, but the majority of the players on this Age of Empires 2 players are beating Age of Empires 4. Let's see if that trend can continue here in game number 2. Remember, this was a show match. They were playing for $150. This is the day after. I haven't checked the results at all. I'm just going into the replays and grabbing them, so I'm going to be surprised at the outcomes as you guys are. And I'm excited. I think Boulder Bay is quite an interesting one to think about on a 3v3 situation, right? We're used to seeing 1v1s. We're used to always just complaining about like the balance of water, how easy it is to choke out. But look at the size of this map, right? Something you always have to consider is as you add in more players, these maps get phenomenally large very quickly. And the amazing thing about having a 3-on-3 with 6 players on this map is that while there is definitely a lot of value on the water courtesy of all these deep water fish points, there's actually a lot more stretch on land as well. What that means is it's actually possible to access your opponent's base without having control of the sea. That's a big difference. Remember, sometimes when we look at 1v1s on Boulder Bay, it kind of has this wonky feeling where it's very difficult to dodge the shoreline, right? I mean, the sacred site is still going to be contested in that regard, but there are ways you can wrap around. If you do lose control of the sea, you will be able to maybe find your way to your opponent's base. And another cool detail you guys might have noticed is no French. We don't have to worry about France just invalidating everyone immediately in this game. But we do have to worry about a few different factors here. So for one, VortiX is playing on the Rus. Rus are incredibly formidable in the water, courtesy of their ability to convert their ships. In fact, a cool play we could see come out, I'm not certain that it's going to occur, but it could, right? Is that you could see one of the other 2 players give over some resources to VortiX so he can convert more fishing boats immediately at the start of Feudal. And this would allow him to rush over and sink all the fishing fleets. And there wouldn't be much you could do if, say, you were being attacked by 6 or 7 of those fishing boats that have been converted into attack ships. So we'll see if that's an option they choose to engage with. That's something I'm always excited about when we talk about these team games, right? Is we can talk about the benefits of X Civ versus Y Civ, the kind of power spikes of the individuals, but there's these cool kind of cross compatibilities, right? These interesting synergies when you put these different civs together. So something to consider, as we just said, is the ability to like fund VortiX into a strong arm strategy point. There's also things such as when we see Mongols coming out in team games, they quite often are the ones trying to utilize trade. We saw that, in fact, in game 1 from VortiX, right, where he tried to do it because he was a central player. And also the logic is even better on maps like this, where you've got players that can actually wall up and protect your trade route, which you can then try to capitalize on. Because remember, there is this central trade point on land as well as one at sea on Boulder Bay. But opening-wise, we do see a very clustered beginning out of Team 1 here, making sure that in the event they come under attack, they will quickly be able to reinforce out of multiple docks. Meanwhile, on the other side, this is a lot looser. MiSTA over here, then of course we have got Lucifer on here, and then finally the Rus player, VortiX, over on this part. So they're a little bit more split. In terms of deep water fish, you can see how rough this is. 2 players are exploiting the same deep water fish. Meanwhile, MiSTA, he's over here, he's got access to more of his own. And then on the other side, I feel like the deep water fish is slightly favoring, at least for this opening, maybe Team 1, because they at least have 2 very close by between all the fishing points. And interesting. So sneak by, managing to get out with the scout. But look at this move out of MiSTA. MiSTA just pulls his fleet across. Remember, Delhi have this advantage, the fishing fleet. The fishing fleet, though, I wasn't sure if we were going to see heavily leveraged this way at the beginning of the game, but it seems it is the case. And keep in mind, this is quite the gamble play for MiSTA. MiSTA, he kind of needs to boost his early economy, really, because he is the frontline player. Notice the formation, right? You've actually got maybe a reverse of what you'd want. You probably want the Rus player at the front over the Delhi player, or possibly even the HRE player. But to have the Delhi player the closest on land could be risky. The good news is this map is so big with 3-on-3s. That it's unlikely you're going to be sieged on land until like 10-15 minutes. And that's when we're talking like compounded defender timing. And that's actually the power spike for Delhi. This is definitely a beneficial early power spike. And I think the thing you do have to consider is that compared to a lot of other civs, you gave him, like, you know, this matchup, we've seen it time and time again, the Delhi, right, how they dominate in the Dark Age. But in a one-on-one, there is some sort of strong arm, but there's enough choke points that you can maybe come back. There are Palisade walls with river-type maps. There are outpost plays. There's enough shoreline to rebuild on. And more importantly, you don't actually have that much economy invested that you could lose early on. This, however, is crippling. What Mr. is doing here is actually fantastic. Remember that while he's sacrificing his early economy, he's punishing not one, not two, but 3 players at the same time. And now look at the raid-in. Lucifron and Mr. They dragged their scouts across and they already burned down one of the dock. And whose dock was that? So we've still got blue and red. So it looks like they did take out Capoch's. And I think, was Capoch the one teching up? No, he hadn't begun yet. So it looks like the Archon Chapel is being constructed, so the HRE player may be able to salvage this up against the fishing boats. The question is, what's going to be the damage before that, right? We can see more of these docks being built, but remember they're 150 wood each, so it is pricey. And I love this move. This is just such a smart little move. It's a type of move that your opponents can't compete with either, because you have Delhi, right? That's the cool concept of playing Delhi in this type of game. And then it leads into this. Look. VortiX moves across. He's converting into the attack ships now, a.k.a. the arrow ships that get called attack ships, the Lodgers. And that's going to allow them to boost up their power spike here and keep dominance right outside their opponent's base, at least for the first minute. There we go with the conversions, able to prioritize down even more fishing boats. They're trying to burn the dock. One ship is going to come out, and it is going to be the junk ship. Now, this junk ship does have home field healing, but he's moved the fishing vessels away. He's trying to snipe out the Mongols. They rebuild their dock line here. And that would be a big deal if they can't get these up, because remember, the junk ships are actually phenomenal at this stage in the game. Light junks plus the Chinese junks could actually dumpster what Team 2 is pushing out right now. The repairs coming in, trying to assist, but with the fishing boats re-arriving here. Focus is on trying to get rid of that junk, and with a focus fire, they should be able to drag it down before the galley can get involved. However, there is a second junk, and this might be where Team 2 has to back off. Remember, it's just measly Delhi fishing boats, 125 health, and 2 attack ships that haven't been upgraded. So they will back off, give the space. Decent pressure early on, though. Overall, I feel like they actually done a good job of slowing their opponents down. If we look at the economy front right now, you can see Team 2, they're booming, especially Lucifron is juiced up at this point. And Mr., remember, these were attack ships that are going to go back now and gather for him, right? Because there is fishing vessels. Also, keep in mind, this created a breathing space for VortiX to do exactly this. You notice he actually pushed out further. He's going for these further off deep water fishes. I think one mistake to consider here is VortiX could have possibly let his HRE teammate have the close by deep water fish, and he could have went for the deeper ones. Because remember, the roosts don't have to return to base to drop off fish. It's another one of those beautiful knock-on effects that you have to utilize to get that full value. Like we talked about with the ability to convert multiple ships if you want to, courtesy of asking, say, your HRE player for a small economy booster pack in the early game. You can see how quickly these deep water fishes are going to run out. There's just too many ships on this. From 3 players, it just gets overwhelming. And it's so efficient to gather from these, even over these long distance. Remember, it's like up at, I think it's 1.3 compared to around 0.8, 0.9 is the usual for fishing points. Maybe not 1.3. It's definitely, I think it's 0.3 higher than shoreline fishes. I just can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head. That would be a nice thing for Relic to add. Relic, World's Edge, if you find this video, we would absolutely adore you if you were to go ahead and just add the gathering rate on these resources, right? So how much food, how much gold per minute, all that kind of stuff, right? At least put it on the people, right? When I hover here, I should be able to see what the gold gathering rate is on these villages. And it would be much higher for these guys because they're juiced up. And it looks like Lucifron is going to crack the castle quicker, I think, than his counterpart. Because remember, Hera is also playing the HRE. Yeah, Hera's not ready at all. Look at his numbers, actually. He was forced into an early fleet, right? Like, how many galleys did he push out? 4? Possibly 5? So he's being kept here. And you can see the difference. Lucifron is barely committing into this battle at this point in the game. Now that he's up at Castle Age, though, he'll pull out the Hulks. And that's when they can push them off the water. Right now, they're already starting to push them off the water. Look at the way they're forced back so easily. There's just so many ships here from the Roost player. Now, this does suggest that VortiX isn't looking to boom up quickly, but he doesn't need to in this situation. The HRE player is going to give him a technological superiority here to try and push through. So, scout through. Finds even more with the Dow ships. He'll look straight onto the fishing boats again and punish them before backing away. And this is one of the beautiful things. Dows, they're not quite as good as light junks, in my honest opinion, but what they have against these galleys is speed. So the galleys can never actually gap close on them. It means you're always able to back away. And if they ever have to retreat with the galleys, Hera's going to lose several of them. Because remember, galleys can only shoot forward. Light junks out from Capoch. He finds the fishing fleet. This is a big deal. Remember, these light junks, they are incredibly fast. 1.87 tiles per second. You won't chase too deep, though. And MarineLorD has teched up. So interesting enough, the Chinese player is the one to reach up over the HRE play on Team 1. But this can be a big deal, remember. War junks are phenomenal units. Remember that they do 120 damage from each of their blister shots compared to the 100 damage of the Hulks. And although they have 100 health less, overall, if you put them on a one-on-one, a War junk should beat out a Hulk. Speaking of those Hulks, now starting to be pushed out by Lucifron. Are you getting that feeling, folks? Is this just going to be decided by water? It might well be, yeah. That's kind of the way that the polar debate unfortunately works more often than not. I don't think we're going to get one of those crown jewels where it comes down to a land battle, but we'll have to see. How we look on the eco count? MiSTer is doing phenomenal, 46. He must be the highest at this stage. Yeah, no surprise there. Remember his fishing fleet, like it's his attack fleet as well, right? So he heavily invested in it. And I think, has he gone for a second TC? No. So he's not getting ultra greedy just yet, but he might. At the moment, MiSTer is ready for the tech up. Plenty of surplus food at this point in the game. And still just churning out a fleet, right? He hasn't been ultra greedy. He has actually invested in these DAOs, so he's present in the fights. These Hulks are starting to make a difference here. Sigurd ships left, right, and center. And War junks now are starting to come out from MarineLorD. He's trying to cycle them around. Not able to stay in range for the shots, though. Remember, these War junks, I believe they have slightly more range, but the speed is lower, right? Yeah, 1.12 compared to the 1. So you can really kind of dictate to a certain extent by quickly disengaging. And now look at this, Lucifron. The demo ships. And this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing in a 3-on-3. If your opponent is caught sleeping for a second, they can lose half the fleet. Because everything's so stacked, there's just too many units. Nice strike by Lucifron. Gets rid of another ship. War junks in retreat. I said they can be stronger, but not when you use them like this. And if anything, I feel like you need the sails. You need to juice yourself up. Yeah, finally he has it. So now he's up to the 1.12 as well. In fact, 1.15. For the Hulks. They can still actually get that research themselves. They could easily back off still also. I don't know if you feel pressured now to go for it if you're Lucifron, considering your opponent has now picked up the speed himself. Would be pretty handy for the demo ships as well. Remember, demo ships by default are 1.5. Getting this far across the sea, right, from the stealth sea, is very difficult without just being exploded by this many ships. Look at the patrol. Weaving around, demo ships looking for targets. I love the setup here from Lucifron, but now he charges in with the demo ships. Forcing the retreat out. Gets a little bit of damage, almost 6-1 the War junks. And the Hulks from Lucifron have gone in, and they are going to be pummeled to death by the light junks. But reinforcements are here. VortiX stays close by. Boom ship on the side is going to be a whiff. Nice attempt by Lucifron, but he needed more there. That will calm things down for the moment. Meanwhile, a little bit of harassment on land. Just mainly the cards getting vision of what's happening in the back of the base. And a scout... What? Hold up. Hold up. This scout has been here doing this so long. He sets a marketplace on fire. 1,000 HP building with 13 damage per throw from the scout. All right, that's commitment, Hera. And he almost gets away with it too, if it wasn't for those meddling deli and their repair guy. Okay, and now Man-at-Arms starting to come out for MiSTer. So MiSTer, I believe he did build the compound defender, yeah? Yeah, so he's looking to start giving himself wall control around the midsection of the map, just kind of blocking their opponents out as best they can. Meanwhile, C situation. Army's starting to build, but remember Hera, he's still in feudal. He never teched up. So he's heavily invested in his galleys. That is okay though, because remember the galleys are a good unit up against the demo ships. They do get that bonus damage against incendiary ships. So then you just basically rely on MarineLorD for the quality of boom ships plus war junks, right? And his are better, right? His war junks at least are better. Not to mention he can build these units quicker, courtesy of the 20% increase in production speed for Chinese docks. Hello. First range cavalry coming out. Probably the only one we're going to see for a while. Capoch is on it. VortiX did just tech up, though. He could have that option available to him. This is one wonky part of having HRE and Roos on the same team, by the way. They are going to fight each other to an extent over these relics. But I do expect, if anything, this is where, like, in your pub games they'll fight. But at a high level, with money on the line, VortiX is likely to utilize the monks to actually ride out and quickly grab the dangerous relics and then return them and drop them right next to Lucifron's base. It doesn't seem that you needed it in the end, or maybe they already done it once, but that's a cool kind of conceptual play you can do here. Because remember, the Regnitz Cathedral, each of these relics is worth 3 times what it normally is in any other temple. While we're talking about that, finally, Team 1 rather is able to move out. And they are pushing in hard. The damage they're doing here. VortiX is going to lose the army at this rate. There's just not enough ships coming out. Bagglers as well. Oh my god, that's desperation. That is not the way. Mr. No. These Bagglers are really underwhelming. They are probably the second worst of their class next to Gallius's. Gallius, of course, being absolutely abysmal. Worst of the worst. But so many casualties right now. VortiX just using his Lordia attack ships as cannon fodder. This would be more effective if he actually boosted them, though. He could give them an extra 200 health, and then they get scary. But so far, not the case. And the way that these war junks are rotating, drifting. MarineLorD, I don't know if he's doing this intentionally. He must be. I mean, I know how much he loves his starter steps. He likes to kind of utilize these mechanics. But what he's doing is he's dragging the formation back and forth. So not only is he rotating the ships, but he's also doing it quicker because they try to reform depending on what units he's selecting. You saw it a few times there, where instead of getting this slower turn rate, it was almost just like they'd essentially hit the handbrake and done a drift, right? They'd full on just reared around and slammed another shot out. And that's the kind of cool thing you could do. It takes a lot of practice because it's very inconsistent. But there is an element to this with formations, because remember, when you have units that are separated and apart, they'll try to come together. And what will usually happen is the units at the back will go faster than their registered movement speed to get in formation quick. After that retreat, MarineLorD looks like he's the only one left standing on either side, really. Like, VortiX, pitiful-looking fleet. Hulk 1 is the count for Lucifron, and a Baggler and 3 measly Dow ships. Meanwhile, look at MarineLorD right now. MarineLorD has basically taken it all upon himself. He's got 10 war junks and explosive junk here. This means that his teammates don't necessarily have to invest in water anymore. They can start to pressure on land, and I'd love to see that switch up now. Either tech up from them or aggress on the land. We already saw some of that coming out from Capoch, and he's still got this line of Magadai just roaming around the battlefield, right? They are uncounted and will not be countered by this. Tower War Elephants, although they are formidable directly against the Magadai, how the hell do you ever catch them? Spoiler alert, you kind of don't. These Magadai, they're going to find so much value. Look at these villages. This is the greed of 3v3 maps. You don't feel like you need to protect your eco lines. There's just so much ground to cover. But now with the Magadai sniping in, they get several of these villages if they commit. Looks like he's just happy with keeping Lucifron off his gold line. Although, keep in mind, Lucifron has ample gold after banking the relics. You can see he's got 2.5k surplus at this stage, so not too bothered. And now, Knights charging in. Gets that initial hit, snipes out one. Magadai should be able to kite them now. And there's so many villages here, holy crap. Yeah, let's see if we can mark this right. He needs to actually attack click them to get the right targets. There's a few that are vulnerable, but instead he'll just run away and focus down the Knights first. That is buying time. Meanwhile, on the other side, there's a secondary Magadai division. So Capoch is doing a fantastic job of just harassing eco, right? This is the dangerous point, I think, for Team 2. They invested so much in the waterfront that they didn't really have much in the way of protection of land. And now they're being punished for it. Because remember, that while there was a small fleet coming out from Capoch, Capoch didn't heavily invest in it. And because Magadai are unlocked at Feudal Age, he had this advantage, right, over other civs. He could get access to this raiding unit so early. And now look at the raid. Look at the damage. So many villages being sniped out. Lucifron going below 40 when most players are cracking 60. This is bad. Now remember, Lucifron, his economy is more efficient, but he needs to get enough together to go for a tech up. Otherwise, I do not feel good about this game for him. And right now, he has forgone the tech up. He's invested in the Knights, so he's not going to get access to his quadruple TC, right? Not going to get his hands on the Palace of Swab yet, so it means he won't be able to replace his villages easily. And that is going to be a problem. Meanwhile, we'll be able to grab the Sacred Site. Interesting that they let him grab the Sacred Site versus having MarineLorD do it. As far as I'm aware, I don't think it ever got changed. The person who gets the gold trickle is the one that captured it. It could be that it was, in fact, MarineLorD that captured it. I know that these sometimes bug out, like the person who captured. But I do believe it is a case of, like, MarineLorD not having capped. No, but he capped this one. Okay, so that's okay. He's still getting double gold trickle. Because remember, the Delhi, they get 200 gold per minute as opposed to 100. So it looks like they took one each. However, they are taking heavy damage on the waterfront. There's so many war junks here. Oh my god! Alright, don't blink or you might miss Hulk sinking. Something feels really good about watching Hulks lose like that, but then feels really bad when you realize this is just a more juiced up Hulk. As they are all discovering, these attack ships that never got upgraded at all do not last a second. And they are just sinking all the docks while they move along. This is so well done by MarineLorD. He's not leaving any chances behind him, any chances for recuperation. VortiX, yes, you know, he has a few boats back here, but he has no dock. They're going to try and rebuild docks, but VortiX isn't the one you need. You need someone who actually is going to be able to commit fast-moving boom ships, probably your HRE player. But your HRE player, as we said, has suffered due to those raids into his economy, courtesy of Capoch, and his still active Magadai on the back here. His Magadai, they're about to do some damage to VortiX next. And I believe, has he used the Falcon? No, didn't even bother. Didn't need it. Oh, chasing a bet. There is a Tower War Elephant here, but this is actually better for you. Why is there a War Elephant all the way back here? What is he doing? He's not finding value on the other side, and we see even more Magadai now sneaking in. And you can feel them just being pulled left and right constantly, right? It never feels like Team 2 are comfortable here. And now they're just committing hard on the Sacred Sites. Team 1 needs to respond soon. You can see they can't reach in. The Warjunks do not have the range to access this. Lucifron is the only one up at Imperial Age as well, so he's the only one with access to those long-range ships. It would actually have been a big deal if MarineLorD had teched up and given himself access to the Baochuans. The Baochuans that I think have about 7 tile range, if I'm not mistaken, which, actually no, is it 7 or is it 8? It might be 8. It's between 7 and 9. I think they have more than the Warjunks though, so they should have been able to reach. It looks like the Tower Elephants are confused about where they should go. You need to be careful of that. Look how many shots you take! Yeah, you've got to respect the power of the Warjunks, folks. You can't just show your face of it a little bit. Look how much damage you took there straight away. And I love this sneak across. MarineLorD, he realizes they're going to just stack elephants here, so he needs to actually cut off their access point. So catch them before they even get there. And you can see the damage it's doing as well. So many shots coming out. Now MarineLorD going to invest a lot of his economy into patrolling the sea, right? He's just going to try and lock them out of having access to this area. And you can see the rest of the Warjunks already know where their opponent's going to be. They're heading to the east. Which is ironic because they came from the east. They are the Chinese. And the Chinese fleet is formidable. As VortiX is about to learn, and so will his teammates alongside him. And another tech up, this time a Hera. So both HRE players being the ones to boom up. Hera's going to now scale his economy phenomenally well, considering he has built the Palace of Swabia like Lucifron did. In fact, if I look at Lucifron quickly, Lucifron did, right? Please tell me he did. If I see anything about Palace of Swabia, okay, thank God. I was going to rip my hair up. But that's how hard he got hit by the Magadai. He's down at 53. Compare that to Hera, who only just teched up, 76. And only, what, 10 of that is fishing vessels? So you can kind of see the distance between these two teams right now. And that's why it's so important, so important, that Team 2 do not surrender these Sacred Sites, or they could easily lose this game. Even if it just happens once. I think that crawl out, that extra time, you're done. Because also remember, your opponent's about to get access to full sea, so you won't have access to those infinite food supplies, those superior ones to the deep water fish. You also won't have the option to go trade, because the coastal trade post won't be accessible to you, and it means that all attention's going to be over on the left side, so you won't be able to trade towards there. And, you know, there's only so much gold on the map. I know they've been neglecting it for the most, but it just means in a long resource battle, which is what Boulder Bay can turn into, it's going to give the edge to Team 2 here, or AoE 2, as I've named them in this game. And Hera just waiting for reinforcements now. More docks being dropped, more knights coming out. I'm thinking if anyone wants to grab some spears or something of the likes. I would absolutely love to see MarineLorD get his dynasty up. Has he actually done that? He's got 2 TCs, 3 TCs in fact. We didn't get a chance to check in on because everything was happening on the sea. But it looks like MarineLorD has not gone for the Yuan dynasty. Really missed opportunity. Remember the Yuan dynasty, it gives you 15% movement speed on all units. Huge booster to your military influence on land. But I guess for him right now, he doesn't care too much. His Warjunks, although it would make them more mobile, it's not mobility they need, right? They just park somewhere as it is. And Hera, he's had enough of waiting. He'll charge in. And the elephants, remember, they can't retreat. If they retreat, the Warjunks, look at them. They're hungry. They're licking their chops right now. They're rubbing their hands. They're saying, come to Papa. But no, Daddy Hera won't allow it. He surrounds the elephant and plows him down. And these measly horse archers won't last long either. So it looks like this sacred site will be decapped. There's nothing they can do to stop it. They can't even access it now. Magadai here, Warjunks as well. Now you've lost your win condition. And that means you have to look at the drawing board. You have to go back to the planning stage and think, what do we do next? How do we bounce back into this? I think, if anything, you are on the edge of just being thrown out of this game right now. I mean, VortiX, he's trying to catch up now on land via the second, maybe that third TC being dropped. And we can see the military district building up for Luciferon, but you need heavy presence at the center of this map. You need so many knights pushing out from your HRE player, and you honestly need to have a bunch of man-at-arms or spears alongside these tower elephants because you need this. You need to start doing this. Not here, though. You do it here, you're surrendering. Because even more of the map is now going the way of Team 1. But they feel like they can't do anything else in this state, right? Like, they're surrounded on all sides. What else could they possibly do here? So, Mista. We said it would come down to this, right? Like, at this stage of the game, this is where having the Deli as your frontline player is nice because, of course, they can plant all those stone walls cheaper and with their military units, so not taking anything out of their effective economy gathering. But you need someone to back it up fast, and VortiX, I think he would have been the golden standard. He would have been that kind of curveball for them. But the problem is that he's not ready for a tech up. And the reason he would have been a curveball is because of Streltsy. Streltsy could have turned a lot of this game around. But now he has problems, right? Imagine Streltsy in conjunction with Stonewall spamming, right? It's actually insane to think about. That extra 2 range, what it turns them into, is Goliaths on the battlefield. But now you're in trouble because VortiX is the one lagging behind. And Team 1 has access to that info. They can see the Roost players failed to tech up. And I expect them to exploit this to the fullest, especially with these elite knights on the prowl. And you haven't walled in. They have created a choke point, but we just saw how much damage these knights done to a few elephants. And I think we're about to get a repeat showing in just a few seconds. Moving in, overwhelms him, starts stabbing in. Oh my. Nice health you had. Had being the very key word here. 1 down already. And he's running away. It's never a good sign. Second one sneaks into formation, so actually starting to even up better for him now. They need to get the Magadite in range, and they failed to do so. And now the Knight's wrapping around Hera. He tries to be the one-man party, and now he's going to be left playing with himself like a person at a one-man party. Nobody show up to play with him. And as a result, now going to be pushed away. Looks like VortiX did double down on the Horse Archer army. Remember, he almost has what he needs for a tech up. This could be big. If he gets access to Imperial Age with Horse Archers with that superior range, as well as access to potentially Streltsy, that's when we could see Team 2 start to claw back control this map. But they need to reach that critical win condition because VortiX is the key here. And you know they're going to be pressured now. Decap on the right side. I think they've got a priest moving out on the left. So they're going to capture both of these sacred sites and now push the pressure onto Team 2. Or as I've labeled them, AoE 4. For anyone wondering at the top. Nesta Bees moving out. These Nesta Bees are going to be a big deal, actually. Think about how amazing the spread is on these units and how much damage they do. And now you're talking about 600 pop cap potential. Obviously, we're not going to have a 600 pop cap, but times 3 the fights you see, right? Now, think about the overwhelming splash damage value that's there. And nobody else can compete with that, right? Like, you can build Mangonels, but I honestly think Nesta Bees is better in a multi-team, or multiplayer game, rather, where you've got teams of more than 2, right? I think once you reach that threshold, Mangonels just can't even compete. And chasing. Just a little bit of poking and prodding. You don't want to hard commit. Your Magadai are pretty flimsy still. Yeah, they got 144 health. Yeah, 17 damage. But the peppering from the Tower Elephants will destroy you. And now, importantly, remember, VortiX, he did tech up, so we should be seeing the upgrades coming out very soon. There's the most important one. You can see Mount Precision currently being researched. Very cheap for what it does. Adding 2 range to this unit, basically giving it an effective increase of almost 50% range is nuts. Not to mention, outside the fact it's 50% range, also think that it's putting it outside the range of most units, right? Longbows are 7 range, and that's the specialist unit of England, right? That's actually their bread and butter. Meanwhile, Roost, they have other great options, but they're getting access to 6.5 range on that unit as it scales. And MarineLorD, here he is. Only really committing siege weapons to this front. Remember, the thing for MarineLorD is a lot of his pop is capped in these ships, right? To keep dominance on the waterfront. So really, he needs his opponents to push forward while he builds his superior siege weapons. Because remember, not only does the clock tower make them more tanky, but also gunpowder units, right? There's buffs related to them that China has access to, especially to do with their fire rate, which if we look at the Bombard, yeah, we can see he's got it. 3.68 seconds instead of every 5 seconds for the Bombard to shoot. Same with the Nesta Bees, by the way. 5.5 seconds for attack. Here comes the volley. Nice breakaway, just timed by 2. But remember, Team 2, they're forfeiting more ground again. They're going to have to hold soon. What's the pop cap looking like over there? So it looks like we have got Lucifron sitting 26. Okay, that's a problem. That's a really big problem. I don't think I even want to look at the rest. Mista's at least up at 69, you pristine devil. And it looks like VortiX is only at 31. You can see how crippled they are right now. And it's because they're trying to push quality. At least they've got that quality now. Elite Horse Archer upgrade complete. He's got the range as well. 6.5 tiles on these bad boys. However, these Elite Knights will only get so much mileage out of Lucifron. Remember, you don't get anything special about your Knights. So really what you're trying to push is this whole concept of, I have more money than you, so I can always afford it. But that's just not the case in this game. You've forfeited 2/3 of the map for quite a while now, so you're being outscaled economically, and you're going to run out of resources before your opponent, so you have to strike soon. And look at the difference here. They're both HRE players, but you might notice one has a distinct amount of more Knights here, almost double, in fact, having 20 more than that of Lucifron. And it means that Lucifron can never approach. He doesn't have a counter unit. None of them do, really. And slowly but surely, they're beginning to lose the base. There's no wraparound attempt either. They're just trying to push out more troops and push their opponents out. This is a lot of War Elephants. If anything was going to do it, it could be this. 20 War Elephants. But remember, the Bombards are here. The Nestbees, look how quickly they're going to die. They're charging. The Magadai as well. Everything adding up. And they're baiting them in. They're looking to access this siege line right now. Splash damage coming out. And it looks like Lucifron's committed here. He maybe gets 1 or 2 of the Nest of Beasts, but that will be all he managed to pick off. Nice split by Hera, splitting up the Knights, so he holds back the main line while dealing with the flankers. And the flankers are all gone, so now the Nest of Beasts can prioritize on the front. The clustered elephants could be a prime target, but so could the horse archers here at the back. Let's see what he chooses. Backing up again. Clusters out. Still focusing on those Knights. But remember, they've got keep control now, so even if 2 felt like they have an advantage, they can't push it anymore. They have to back up. After that, only 5 of these War Elephants fall, but all the Knights gone for Lucifron, and Lucifron's the problem here. He doesn't have surplus resources. Just look at the count right now. He's never got what he needs on the food front, and that is starting to damage their ability to do anything off the advantage they take in a fight. And that's why you see, instead, now it's going to be Team 1 pushing in again. Horse Archers, don't want to show them. They're the targets. They're the ones you want the Nest of Bees. The Nest of Bees will rip them apart. Elephants, less so. They have 6 range resistance, right? Nest of Bees. Need to back up. Knight's going to engage. Remember, Hera still has the numbers in his favor. And remember, Capoch, he has a ridiculous quantity of Magadai here now. And because the Nest of Bees are still in play, these Horse Archers that would counter the Magadai do not in this game. Siege continues. Bombards. The targets to snipe out. Would love to go for the Elephants if they present the opportunity. MarineLorD. Take a little bit of fire, but it's range fire. Remember, you have 15 resistance, and these are tanky clock tower siege weapons. Go back away. Nest of Beast splash again. Good hit. Gets rid of 2 of the Elephants just like that. And this is the problem they have. Up against China, they're just too slow to move in. And once again, more casualties into the army of Team 2, a.k.a. AoE 4. AoE 2. Well, AoE 2, I can't believe I'm going to say it. I know there's going to be a big Age of Empires 2 fan out there that's probably got a boner from the moment I say it, but they're stomping Age of Empires 4 here. Even spears now coming. These spears that haven't been upgraded, they're normie spears. They do nothing. This game is all but over. I just don't see how you get back into it now if you're 2. I think the issue you have is those raids on land. You never walled, and I think that was the criminal detail here. You never walled, so your opponent always was able to actually access, and this is what they're playing for instead. They dropped a wonder. That's why Lucifron wasn't able to invest as much. They're gambling on this play, but they've got so long left. Look at this, 10 minutes. There's no way that you're going to hold on for 10 minutes. And that's the other risk of going wonder victories, folks. Wonder victories are always taken when you're behind, right? You try to get them when you're behind. And because you're behind, because they're already sieged your base, Lucifron hasn't got an army. And once it gets wiped once, with a heavy investment of 3,000 of each resource, you know he won't be able to replace it. And this game is not going to last another 10 minutes. You can see that the main base of the Delhi is already just minced and rinsed, and now they're just going to run through for more. Really well played out of Team 1. I love the way that they heavily utilized MarineLorD and the superiority of China in these matchups on water, right? With the tech power into the rush out of War Junks, knowing nothing could match War Junks. And then instead, focusing their efforts on land, Capoch forfeiting the water and leaving Hera to assist, who, as HRE, chose willingly to stay into feudal. This is what made the win possible, right? That combination, that understanding to take roles within the team and make the victory occur together. Gives them the edge and gives them game 2, now putting them up 2 games and 1 away from taking this best of 5. We'll have to see what's going to happen in game 3, though.